Ooh. Hello?
Hi, Cindy. We're on.
Uh, okay. Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are getting everything together here, and we're just about ready to get started. It's 4 o'clock, so we will be right with you.
Okay.
right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the August meeting of the Memphis Landmarks Commission. We have everyone on the phone, I believe, and so we will go ahead and get started. So we are having difficulties with our chair, Joyce Cox, so Cindy Givich Tucker, our vice chair, is going to start us off and chair the meeting today. So thank you, Cindy.
Okay. Are we there?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Memphis Landmarks Commission for August 27th, 2020 to order. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Boyd?
Here.
Ms. Doss?
Present.
Mr. Prosser?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Present.
Mr. Norcross?
Present.
Chair Tucker?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The Landmarks Commission and the local historic district guidelines are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, foster civic beauty, and ensure compatibility with locally designated historic districts. The Commission is authorized to review projects and determine their approach to each district's historic review guidelines. Mr. Secretary, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there are not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. Will a member who has read the minutes from the last meeting, I believe it was July 23rd, make a motion for their approval? I need a motion.
Yeah.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, may I have a roll call?
Yep. Mr. Norcross?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Prosser?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion
Mr.
carries.
Secretary, do you have a, excuse me, Mr. Secretary, do you have a report?
I do not. I did want to mention, and I thought that all these were shown as being held, but there is one change to the agenda. We have 3 items that are listed on the agenda that are being held, and those are items 4, 5, and 8. So the only change is we have item 4 and 8 listed as a hold, and item 5 is not listed as a hold. So that is a correction to the agenda. So we will not be hearing items 4, 5, and 8.
We will not be hearing 4, 5, and 8, so I don't know all those.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Minor COA, appropriateness that are listed on the agenda were approved this much by the commission and will be noted in the minutes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And so the first item that we will hear, and if you have the agenda handy, we have item 1 under F, and that is MLC 20-028, 293 North Willette Street.
Okay. So we'll now hold public hearings on each of the applications for the major certificates of appropriateness. For each case, I will first swear in all parties who wish to speak on the matter. We will then hear testimony from the applicant, followed by in support of the application, and then finally those in opposition of the application. After opposition has spoken, the applicant will be allowed for a rebuttal period. If you would like to provide testimony to the commission and you are an applicant, what do they need to do?
We have a list of callers that have pre-registered to talk. Either they're applicants or opposition or in support. And so we have those, and we'll be assisting in making sure that they are called at the appropriate time. And
okay. Go ahead. Okay. Then the first, like he said, MLC 20028 293 North Willette Street, Evergreen Historic District. Is the applicant present?
See. Yes, ma'am. This is Marty McAfee. I'm on the line.
Okay. Can you state your name and address?
Sure. My name is Marty McAfee. MartyMcAfee. My address, on the application, I put my business address, but my address, do you need my home address?
I think home, isn't it, Brett?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Home address is 323 North McNeil, 38112.
Okay, thank you. And I need for you to raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, have you read the staff report?
I have.
Are you in agreement with the staff recommendations?
I am in large part. There's if the commission chose to take the staff recommendations, the staff recommendation is that it be denied, and then down further they say if the commission chooses to allow this application, then here are recommendations. I'm in agreement with it being granted subject to the staff recommendations. There's one thing I would ask you to consider changing with the staff recommendations, and that is if you look at 3D, it says that any exterior would be either hardy board stucco with batten boards or hardy board lap siding. I'd like you to consider allowing that veneer also for the first floor rear bathroom addition if it's allowed. So instead of just one choice, having either this or either that, if the commission chooses to grant my application.
Okay. Commissioners, do y'all want to see the presentation?
Yes, please. I would.
Okay. In lieu of his comment, I think it would be good to see the presentation. So could we have the presentation?
Yes, Madam Chair. 1 second. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Tezai with the Office of Planning and Development. Item before you is a request for new construction of a first floor rear addition and a second floor addition and exterior alterations to replace all windows. Subject property is located at the west side of North Willette Street, block between Poplar Avenue to the south and Peach Avenue to the north, and it's immediate east of Williamson Park. Next slide, please. The photo before you shows the existing condition of the subject structure, which is a one-story bungalow single-family home. It is also a contributing structure to the Evergreen Historic District. Next slide, please. The site plan shows the proposed first floor addition, which will accommodate a master bathroom addition, which will expand the footprint of the house about 144 square feet at the rear portion. Next slide, please. The applicant originally proposed the second floor addition, which was in line with the front wall of the front facade, in encompassing the whole first floor footprint, and those plans are included in the staff report. However, we received updated elevations which met some of the conditions we originally recommended in the staff report. This updated front elevation shows the second floor addition with hardy stucco panels with batten boards, windows matching the existing in style and size, and clipped gable roof with architectural shingles. Next slide, please. Updated left elevation shows that the proposed second floor addition is set back about 13 feet from the front wall of the first floor, and the existing front porch is kept as original. At the rear of the second floor, there is a balcony with wood railing above the proposed first floor master bathroom addition. Next slide, please. Updated right side elevation shows the second floor addition with, again, hardy stucco panels and batten boards and 1/1 windows matching the rest of the house. Next slide, please. Updated rear elevation, the first floor addition to have hardy lap siding with 6-inch reveal, and the second floor balcony with French doors to the right-hand side and 6/1 windows to the left. Next slide, please. Previous plans and elevations were not adhering to evergreen design guidelines, and we recommended certain conditions. However, the updated elevations as presented do meet the design guidelines requirements for additions in terms of scale, mass, materials, and location. Next slide, please. The staff recommends approval of the COA request with conditions numbers 1 and 5. The conditions 2, 3, and 4 are striked out based on the updated plans we received on August 25th. This concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I did want to mention, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that we do have someone that wants to speak in opposition after you have a chance to ask Ms. Tazell any questions.
Okay, yeah, did the commissioners have any questions of the applicant?
I have a question for the staff. This is Neil Prosser. I don't understand what is being proposed here. Is this a two-story addition, or is this a one-story rear addition of a bathroom at the back of the house?
It's actually both, Commissioner Prosser. There is a small addition to the rear of the house on the first floor, and then the whole second floor is a new addition.
Okay. So what you were showing is what is being proposed with the large
Yes.
Two-story
Yes, sir.
addition on top. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what was it about the prior proposal that was problematic from staff's view?
The previous plans had the second floor addition in line with the first floor's footprint, meaning that the mass of the first floor was matching the mass of the second floor. And according to the Evergreen Design Guidelines, any additions that is visible from street and impacting the front elevations should be subservient and smaller than the original structure. So we recommended the applicant to push back the second floor addition to make it similar to the existing airplane bungalow style homes on this block, and the updated plans reflect those changes.
Okay. Do you have pictures of any of those airplane bungalows on the block?
We do not have the pictures of the other structures on the block. I believe, here you can actually see to the immediate right, there's an existing airplane bungalow right next to the subject property.
Okay. How much taller will this be than that?
I believe the height will be the same, but the location of the second floor of the existing to the right is set back far from the street.
Okay, so that's the main difference, is the placement of where the second floor addition begins?
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience that is in support of this application?
No, we do not.
Okay. Is it time? Should I call one that is in opposition?
Yes, and we have Mr. Jeremy Williams, and I believe he is unmuted. Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
Okay. State your name and address.
My name is Jeremy Williams, and I live at 105 Clark Place.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
The Evergreen Historic District discussed this within our planning committee and also heard from a number of nearby neighbors regarding this project. We've had some significant concerns with the design in the past, and we did receive an updated design on this, an updated application this afternoon. Unfortunately, that has left us with very little time to give the application thorough consideration and try to assess its merits and to come up with feedback based on that. We request that this application be held for 30 days in order to allow nearby neighbors as well as the HDA to thoroughly review the updated application and provide feedback on it. We do still have some concerns. We did not note a updated second floor interior layout included in the updated application. And we would like to have further time to review the new application.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions for this speaker? Okay.
If I may, I apologize. May I add one more comment?
Sure.
One of our concerns is that the size and scope of these, specifically the second floor addition, originally it seemed clear that this was intended to be a second living space. In other words, had the potential to convert this single family home into multifamily. And we continue to have some concerns with the current size just on the elevations and not having an updated interior design on the second floor. We have some concerns that may still be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does the applicant have, does he want to do a rebuttal of any kind?
Sure. Would I answer questions or what would you like?
Yeah,
Well,
Mr. Maxey, you have 2 minutes for any rebuttal. Sorry, excuse me, Madam Chair.
No, that's okay.
Well, I guess probably the thing I could say best in 2 minutes is I like airplane bungalows. There's plenty of them on the street. There's plenty of houses on Willette that are bigger than even what is proposed here. This commission has granted applications. I can think of one at North Parkway and McNeil that is way, vastly a bigger addition than what I'm proposing here. I like airplane bungalows, but I don't think it makes sense to do that with this house. This house is essentially 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on the left of the first floor and a really small living room, a really small dining room, and then a kitchen on the left side or the north side of it. But that dining room is vaulted somebody took out half of the attic and all the structure that would hold up the roof for that first floor, and so there's nothing between first floor and the roof, not much. In order to do an airplane bungalow, I'd have to do all the structure in the building of the structure for a second floor, and I would get 2/3 or half of the living space. The second floor that I'm proposing would be accessed by existing stairs, just like the second floor rooms are now. So I don't, I'm not proposing that this be allowed to be a multifamily house. If I chose to do that in the future, I'll go through the permit requirements as they're required. If I did that, it wouldn't be different than probably 45% of the rest of that street, if not more than that.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners, before we ask for a motion, have any questions of this applicant?
This is Neil Prosser. I am sympathetic to the idea that if the neighborhood hasn't had a chance to actually review the plan that we're voting on, that they ought to get a chance to do that. And I'm wondering, does the applicant mind waiting until next month to have this reviewed?
I actually think that that's a fair request. I had said I've already been held up more than 6 months on this, and I didn't know I was even required to do it when I took this on. I had said I basically told my friends that if this isn't approved this week, then I'm going to rent it within a week. Let it stand as it is, and we can all admire the way this house has been for the last 40 years, because it hadn't been improved a bit in that time. If the commission wants to hold it off a month to see if the committees have any response to it, I'm fine with that. I'm getting if that's what you think is right, then do that.
This is
Okay,
Commissioner Warren, and that is, yes, sorry, Chairperson. Commissioner Warren here. I think it's not a question of what the applicant thinks, whether or not that's fair or not, because it's just not fair. We can't get drawings on the 25th. Well, let me back up. I want to thank the applicant for the revisions. I think they're very sensitive. I think it's a nice design, and I think it's headed towards approval. But I mean, this comments for staff, as much as my fellow commissioners, we've been talking about this project for 20 minutes, and we've got 12 or -3. We've got 9 agenda items. We can't get drawings on the 25th, and then the neighborhood not see them when they're so substantive and fundamentally changing the design. So we absolutely, in my opinion, need to hold this. Again, I think it's headed in the right direction. I like the design, but it's just not fair to, our packet that we've received doesn't even have these drawings in it. We're seeing them for the first time via YouTube. And so I think we absolutely support Commissioner Prosser's suggestion, and I'm prepared to make a motion, or he can. And I'd actually like to talk to staff about our policies, because, I mean, it's one thing to change the munching pattern on a window, but this is like a confusing fundamental shift in the design.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Why don't we call for a motion?
Well, Commissioner Prosser, why don't you do it? It was your suggestion.
All right. I would move that we postpone consideration of MLC 20-028 for 1 month in order to allow the neighborhood and neighbors to collaborate further with the applicant, and hopefully we'll have a unified group before us in a month.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Do we need some further discussion on this? Okay. Any other discussion before I call for a vote? Okay. And a vote.
Yes, Mr. Prosser,
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Norcross,
Yes.
Ms. Doss,
Yes.
Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
Chair Tucker.
Yeah,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay. The next item is MLC 20036-985 Bruce Street, Cooper Young Historic District. Is the applicant present?
Jeremy Dupree here.
Okay. Would you state your name and home address, please?
Jeremy Dupree, 10629 Hardin Valley Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37932.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I
couldn't hear you. Hello?
do.
Okay,
sorry.
thank you. That's okay. Have you read the staff report?
Yes, I have, and I'm in agreement with staff reports and conditions.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners want to see the presentation?
Yes, I would. It's Neil Prosser.
Okay, thank you. Could we have the presentation, staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Tazah with the Office of Planning and Development. Item before you is an amended application for new construction of a two-story single-family home in Cooper Young Historic District. The previous application was rejected by the Commission on June 25th, 2020. The applicant revised the plans that were submitted, and the application was amended per the Memphis Landmarks Commission bylaws, paragraph 9B. Next slide, please. Subject property is a 2,500 square feet vacant lot located on the west side of Bruce Street, the block between Young Avenue to the north and Walker Avenue to the south. Visual shows the subject property to the left. Next slide, please. Proposed site plan shows the structure to be set back about 24 feet from the front east property line with 5 feet side yard and 15 feet rear yard setbacks. Along the north property line, there's a proposed shared driveway to serve two single-family homes. Next slide, please. Proposed front elevation shows the structure to be about 15 feet in width with an 8 feet deep full width front porch with wooden railings, hipped roof with architectural shingles, and 1/1 double hung windows. The proposed exterior material is hardy board lap siding with 6-inch reveal and 4-inch corner boards. Next slide, please. The side elevations show the second floor addition to be set back about 27 feet from the front wall of the first floor on the right side. The proposed carport is located about 27 feet from the front wall of the first floor, and it is right below the second floor of the proposed structure. Next slide, please. Proposed plans show the structure to have 2 bedrooms at the second floor, living area and kitchen at the first floor, and the total living area of the structure is 1,077 square feet. Next slide, please. The proposed new construction partially adheres to the design guidelines of Cooper Young Historic District. The guidelines state that new residential buildings shall be constructed with the same number of stories as any existing residential structure on the same block. And there are 2 multi-story homes near the subject property. And during the previous hearings, there was a discussion about one of those structures being non-contributing, and we checked the status of that structure to the right side, and we found out that it is actually a contributing two-story structure. Two-story shotgun-style homes are not very common among the contributing structures of Cooper Young, and subunit plans also do not show sufficient foundation height. Per the Unified Development Code, minimum foundation wall height shall be 18 inches above grade. Proposed two-story structure is located on an unusually narrow lot, and majority of existing structures on this block are one-story bungalow-style homes located on wider lots. Next slide, please. Another issue is the amount of hard paved surfaces. Due to the unusual size of the lot, side, front, and rear yard green spaces are minimal. Next slide, please. In accordance with the district design guidelines and staff analysis, we recommend approval of this application with 7 conditions as listed on staff report page 11. This concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have a question for staff or the applicant?
I have a question for staff. It's sort of, I guess, sort of a rhetorical question. Maybe it's a comment, but it's interesting that you found that the structure on the right side is contributing. That's the one that is a blue house that's 2 stories. I'd also like to point out the house on the left side is probably contributing. It certainly looks old, but it also features an airplane addition on the back of it, so that makes the house on both sides a 2-story house, or at least having some element of 2-story massing. Is that correct?
That is correct, and they are both contributing structures. The National Register forms indicate that these 2 existing structures are contributing and multi-story. The house to the left is listed as 1.5 story, and the other house on the right side is listed as 2-story.
There is, did that answer your question?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Did any commissioners have any other questions right now? Okay.
This is Commissioner Boyd. I take it we're losing those 2 trees that are on the property.
Well, this might be a question for the applicant, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We would be forced to take those down. At least definitely come down. They would have to come down.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
What is being? This is Neil Prosser. What is the recommendation as to the foundation height?
We are recommending 18-inch high foundation walls above grade.
And it looked like the house was on piers is it on piers or is there a continuous wall?
I believe the foundation plan shows piers, but it is going to be closed off with some sort of foundation wall to meet our conditions.
And that would be like parged concrete or something? Is that specified?
Well, we received outdated plans from the applicant actually last night, and those showed concrete blocks enclosing the foundation.
But not with a parge on it, just raw blocks? That would not be appropriate at all, I don't think, would it?
We would definitely recommend, if that's the approval of the commission, to have some sort of parging covering on those concrete blocks, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we would be completely comfortable with making those adjustments as well. The architect was just trying to illustrate the 18 inches, but that would not be a problem.
Okay, any other commissioner questions?
This is Commissioner Boyd again, and I was just wondering, did we get, and this is for the staff, did the applicant identify the material that will be used for the driveway since it was not indicated in the proposal?
Well, I believe it's going to be a concrete driveway, and one of our conditions, if you go to the staff report, page 11, the staff condition number 5 has 2 options for the driveway. The first one is to have the driveway as a concrete ribbon driveway, about 50 feet between the apron and the garage areas to minimize the amount of hard paved surfaces, or to have the driveway and walkways to be constructed of pervious materials such as permeable concrete.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioner questions?
This is
Okay,
Commissioner Warren with a mic check. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I just got disconnected. I do not have a question.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Just one last question. This is Neil Prosser. What is going on the bottom floor at the rear? Is that a storeroom? What is space at the rear?
Commissioner Prosser, that is actually a part of the first floor. It is shown to serve as a laundry and mechanical room.
Okay. And this will have the garage will have doors on the carport, or will it be just a pull-through type thing?
It will be just a carport. There are no walls or garage doors shown on the plans.
Have we ever approved anything like this with a pull-through garage or carport like this? This is unusual to me.
I don't think that we saw anything similar to this. Best of my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more commissioners? Okay, thank you. Brett, do we have anybody in support?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I do believe that, well, first of all, I was going to say there's someone, we've got some feedback going on. I don't know where that's from. If someone's got something in the background, if you could mute, and if you're a commissioner, we can unmute you when you want to speak. I'm not sure who it is. We can't identify that, but there's just a little bit of background noise. But we do have, the applicant does have 5 minutes to explain anything that they would like to at this point as well, before we do have opposition, though, that we would allow to speak, yes.
Okay. Does the applicant want to provide any more information? Or have any other comments?
The main thing that I would say is, we're open to making any changes we've had. We've been flexible with all the meetings and tried to make the adjustments from the feedback that we've heard, so that wouldn't be a problem. The carport was just wanted to have parking because we have to have parking for the houses, and that was the most creative way we felt to be able to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did the commissioners have any questions for him at this point? Okay. So do we have, go ahead. Hello? Okay, Brett, do we have anybody that is in support?
No, we have two in opposition. I think first we will go to Miss Olivia Wall.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Wall, you state your name and address.
I'm Olivia Wall, representing the Cooper Young Community Association, located at 2298 Young Avenue.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Right. Thank you for hearing from us, and thank you again for following our guidelines and rejecting this application in June. Although the applicant attempted to revise the plans to make them closer to the guidelines, the proposed structure is still not appropriate, as it still does not adhere to the guidelines. The changes made since the June meeting, where this project was unanimously rejected, do not suffice. They have not made the structure more appropriate, and there are still a number of issues with the structure as proposed. This is still a 2-story structure on a predominantly 1-story street. This 2-story portion does not start in the rear as recommended by Brett Ragsdale in his letter to the applicant dated June 29. In fact, the 2-story portion is approximately the same square footage of the habitable space of the 1st story and begins in the middle of the house. Further, the narrowness of the lot is more appropriate for a 1-story shotgun-style house, which is typical in Cooper Young. This narrowness is also in contention with UDC contextual infill standards regarding lot width. The proposed structure does not comply with the guidelines for new construction, such as height, mass, scale and form, rhythm of spacing, proportions and rhythm of opening, foundations, and architectural character. The front facade lacks compatibility with the street block and neighborhood. The 2nd-story gable-like structure is problematic, to say the least, and there has been little attention to incorporating features and details that respect the pattern and rhythm of design characteristics which are dominant on the street block. I represent a neighborhood which overwhelmingly does not think this project is appropriate. We had over 60 letters in opposition last month. This month, 46 folks wrote in because just like before, this proposed structure is inappropriate. This applicant owns 4 additional 25-foot wide lots on Bruce Street beyond what is being heard here today. Whatever is passed will set a precedent for not only those 4 additional lots, but the neighborhood as a whole. This is the first 25-foot wide lot in Cooper Young going before this commission. Our homes were torn down in many places to make room for 2, which allows one demolished historic home to be replaced by 2 or more brand new ones due to 1890 subdivision plat lines. We worked to achieve landmark status because developers came in and marred our streets with towering, skinny houses which disrespect our history and community. Please do not see this project as a one-time thing to let skirt by. More projects will be proposed on narrow lots. If you are not ready to approve 5, 10, 15 more of this design, do not let this pass. Please help us shape what appropriate infill looks like in Cooper Young, which respects not only the guidelines, but our history, community, and neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have a question for this speaker? Okay. Thank you. Now the applicant has 2 minutes.
Madam Chair, we actually have one more in opposition as well. I apologize.
Okay.
So Mr. Patrick Durkin is on the line.
Okay. Mr. Durkin, would you state your full name and address?
Yes, Patrick Durkin, 935 Bruce Street.
Oh, okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
First, I just want to thank the commission who unanimously voted against this project back in June, especially to Commissioner Warren, whose comments were invaluable. And while we're here today to talk about the design, I want all the commissioners to know why we're here in the first place. I've been living on Bruce Street for 11 years, and it is important to know that this vacant lot is not just any vacant lot that has been sitting here forgotten for decades. It is only an empty lot because 3 years ago, before Cooper Young was a landmarks district, a local developer demolished the existing historic house. He did this by dividing up the lot in order to build 2 new tall and skinny homes on the lot where one house used to exist. Once Cooper Young became a landmarks district, he abandoned those plans and sold the lot to the applicant here today. This is one of the many reasons why people in Cooper Young fought so hard to obtain historical overlay status to avoid this type of development. Many of these historical homes in our neighborhood consist of 2 or more plats per site. But even with these multiple plats, what they all have in common is that there is only one house built on the lot, regardless of how many plats it sits on. These plats in question were divided back in the 1890s, 130 years ago. Please take a look at the new tall and skinny homes that are built at the corner of Bruce and Oliver Avenue. 3 years ago, one house was demolished and 4 new homes were put in its place because of the 130-year-old plat line. I live directly next door to these homes that now tower over my house, and I urge you to not allow anything like this to happen again. As this application today is no different, it will disrupt the street block just as my end of Bruce Street is forever altered. This developer owns 4 more 25-foot lots at the corner of Bruce and Southern Avenue. This will set a dangerous precedent for the future if allowed. With these homes having to share a driveway and the added cutout garages or carports that violate the contextual info standards of the UDC, as there are no garages or carports anywhere on the street, I believe that this is a big red flag that this type of development is not appropriate. This is still a two-story structure that does not fit within the streetscape, as the adjacent homes are not two-story structures, but looks like they were added additions, not from the period of significance. You received over 40 letters in opposition to this amendment and over 60 letters from the previous applications heard back in June. I urge you to please listen to the neighborhood, follow the guidelines set forth by Cooper Young. The most logical thing to do here is to build one single family home that matches the rest of the streetscape. One house is the only thing that ever existed on this lot. Because the previous owner demolished the house to capitalize on the market and the lack of landmarks protection at the time, we are still suffering today, 3 years later, by trying to shove too much on one lot. Please help us preserve Cooper Young. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now that, do you have any questions of this speaker, Commissioner? Okay. The applicant now has 2 minutes if he wants to say anything in the rebuttal.
We've made adjustments based upon what we heard from the commission and the Cooper Young division as well. We feel like we've shown how the houses beside the house are the 1.5 and 2 story, and we've tried to set the second story back to make the most of the lots because they are 2 lots. So we've tried to make the adjustments and try to make it work. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant before I call for a motion?
This is Commissioner Warren. I have a question.
Okay.
So the covered parking stall, the carport, if you will, it's not a drive-through per se. Would a car always come up the driveway, obviously, and then turn left or right into one of these 2 houses because they're mirror images, right? And then, but how close is the building to the property line? You can't pull through the house. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, that would be accurate. You wouldn't pull through.
Okay. And again, I'm looking at the site plan. It looks like 5 feet from the property line. Is that, maybe this is a question for staff, but the applicant probably knows the answer. Is that that's a standard side yard setback, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question for staff. When we're making a determination, I heard one of the opposition speakers say, talk about the uniformity of the block. So do we factor in uniformity of the block, or does the neighbor, like in terms of 1 story, 2 stories, or do we factor in the characteristics of the neighborhood as a whole. Because there are two-story homes in Cooper. That's what I'm considering.
Okay. Is that a question for staff or for us or just a
It
comment?
was for staff. It was for staff.
Okay.
Or Brett.
Well, Commissioner Doss, the Cooper Young design guidelines, when they talk about height, they say the same block to consider the height of the new structure. Are correct that there are two-story homes in Cooper Young Historic District, but when we also look at this block of Bruce Street, there are two multi-story homes on this block. However, the majority of the block is one story.
And this is Cindy. Does it not also, and I'm not looking at their guidelines, but in my notes and my memory over thinking about these in Cooper Young, everything that I remember reading stressed rhythm, scale, and massing in their guidelines. So that would, to me, that if I'm wrong, tell me that. But my recollection comes back to that. So you could have some that were a story and a half or two or whatever, but it still complies with the rhythm, scale, and massing of that block. Is that correct?
Well, our analysis indicated that these new structures would meet the standards of the scale and massing of this block. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions do the commissioners have?
And there's
Okay.
I know the carport is, I know the carport is unusual and there's no other alternative for parking with the carport other than the carport.
It's going to be a question.
That's the question.
Okay, a question for the applicant.
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
yes.
Can you repeat
Go
that
ahead.
question for me? It was kind of breaking up when it came through.
Sure. I know that the carport, in that style of carport is unusual in Cooper Young. There are carports or porte cocheres there, but is there an option to adjust the carport and then still satisfy the parking situation? Or is that, I heard you say earlier though that was an option for parking?
Well, the thing is, that would be the only way I would really know to do it in order to have the two parking spaces that are required, would be to do the carport, kind of like that, based on the size.
Okay. And go ahead, Cindy.
No, that's okay. I was just going to see if you wanted to ask more questions or if you wanted to, the commissioner wanted to make a motion and then we can discuss it.
Yeah, it's Commissioner Warren. So in order to facilitate further discussion, I'd like to submit a motion to approve MLC case 20-036.
Okay, could I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Now we can discuss, commissioners.
I have a comment to pick up on the carport discussion, what we were just initiating there.
Okay.
I asked about the carport being a breezeway or a pass-through, and it was with respect to its appearance from the street. And I think that speaking big picture, I support the innovation of this project. I also am sympathetic to the history, the slash and burn, buy a lot, split it in half before the district was created. But the hand we've been dealt is a 25-foot wide lot. I think, and I expressed this last month, that the solution is fairly innovative. I wonder if the the somewhat irregularity or objectionable character of the carport could be mitigated by closing the outside wall off. If you can't drive through it, I mean, sure, it'd be a nice place to grill a hot dog or have a barbecue with the wind blowing through there, but if we're concerned about the massing of that carport, it really doesn't need to register on both sides of the building, I don't think. In fact, adding a solid opaque wall on the outside wall would prevent the neighbor from having to look at your car, and it would give you a surface to hang garden tools on or something like that. So that's one point. The other point, and I'll try to be brief, is I find the mapping of the second floor to be a bit goofy, and that's a funny word, but I think there's an easy solution. The way that the stair, I mean, I understand what's happening with the stair and this three-dimensional geometry of the stair is causing a bump out on that front facade. And I really commend the applicant for the three-dimensional drawings. This makes it very easy to read this project. But I think, and this comment for the rest of the commissioners, I think the project would be more successful for the neighborhood and everyone if we simply drew a straight line across the second floor and made the front bedroom bigger. It really has the spirit of an airplane addition. In fact, I know with some certainty, if this project were one story, it would be approved. And if the project came back next year for an approval of an addition, that addition would be approved. And I think the context here is we have two-story habitable space on either side. So those are my comments, and I really support staff's recommendations and the approval of this project.
Okay. Any other discussion from the commissioners?
Well, I mean, we always try to find a happy medium. I think that the applicant made an honest or earnest effort at revising it based on the concerns of both the community and staff. So I was really just trying to understand understand the objections of the community, the continued objections of the community, and how it wasn't aligned, they weren't aligning with staff's recommendations. So I really am not 100% clear, other than the scale piece, but staff has assured us that it is within the guidelines. So I'm inclined to support it as well, and maybe work on the driveway situation, as Commissioner Warren suggested.
Okay. Any more discussion from commissioners?
This is Neil Prosser. I share the neighborhood's concern about the project. I think that it will tower over its neighbors. It doesn't have one of the characteristics we saw of the street when we saw the Google view a few minutes ago was the openness between the houses. That will not be here. This will look jammed in on a very narrow lot. Look at the openness there. And you will lose that character with these houses being so close to each other. And then that changes the streetscape. The massing here is very much out of character with the streetscape. And the neighborhood has a very good point about the prevalence of these 25-foot lots. They encourage people to tear houses down in order to build two houses in place of one. And that is one of the motivating forces behind the neighborhood becoming a landmarks district. And I think we should honor that. I think these houses are inappropriate, and I applaud the applicant for his innovation, but I just don't think it's good enough and does not meet the guidelines and will be something that Cooper Young will regret having us allow.
But I want to point out I want to point out something else. Though there is, granted, it looks odd to me, but there's already an existing right at the beginning of Cooper, right off Southern, that double house thing. I mean, it looks strange to me, but it's there already, that's the opening of Cooper Young. And then we also which I didn't, and I will be the first to admit as a layperson, I'm not always, looking at diagrams the way that Commissioner Foster and Warren might, and also a good judge of like distance. So, but we also approved that apartment building next to Stone Soup, which was a narrow lot, and I looked at it after it was built, and I was like, oh. I felt this way after that. But I was looking at it outside of the, sitting in Stone Soup, looking at it right there. And I was like, oh. So I understand the narrowness.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
But we
I'm having problems too.
Forward.
Wait, is there more people talking at one? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I heard somebody talking, two people talking at one time there.
Okay. Well, that was it. We've already approved a double house, two houses on a lot, and although it looks strange to me, it's right at the beginning of Cooper. It's on Cooper, right off of
Did we approve
Southern
that?
at the beginning. I don't know if we did, but it's there.
I don't think.
But it's there. We also approved, but we did approve a narrow, an apartment building on a narrow lot next to Stone Soup, and we did do that.
In Cooper Young.
That whole apartment. Yes, on Cooper.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I mean, I hear the concerns, but I'm pointing out the existing, similar existing structures and challenges.
This is Neil Prosser. I think that the first construction that Commissioner Dawson is talking about pre-existed landmarks, and that's one of the reasons they wanted to become a landmarks district. The other on Cooper was approved by us, if I recall correctly, and it's it's in a commercial area, so the height and the narrowness is less of a concern. We're talking about somebody's neighborhood here and single-family homes. So I think there's a distinction that can be drawn between those two examples.
I agree with Commissioner Prosser as well. And I think there's an overwhelming, I don't think we've ever seen as many people in a neighborhood that have come up against the project in the time that I've been in either. So it directly, I think it directly has impact on their community.
So what would be the solution?
Yeah, that's my question. Is you have a 25-foot wide lot. It's not going anywhere. It's been made. It's there. So what is the solution? Or is it a single-story shotgun house with no off-street parking? I mean, that's not going to happen there. And with respect to the 42 letters, I've read them and looked through them. They're not. They're in a social media age, and I'm thankful for each of those letters. I'm thankful somebody took the time. But the issue is, how much time did they take, and what were the circumstances behind their decision to write that letter? Those letters, they're highly repetitive. They're typically one or two sentences. They're not thoughtful rebuttals of the project. And I mean, it's a very challenging site, and I feel like we need to. There's compromises have been made. I mean, I've made my points. But what would be appropriate there on a 25-foot wide lot that doesn't exist on that street? There are no 25-foot wide lots on the street. And with respect to concerns about future 25-foot lots, each project will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
We don't work on precedent necessarily. So, I mean, it is case by case. But I'm again aligning with Commissioner Warren. I want to know what the solution is before we send this gentleman away with a no. I mean, I'd like to be clear about what we can do. Either start over, raise it, abandon it, or no off-street parking. I mean, he has to have parking. So I don't know, but I mean, because now if he if he abandons the property, then you're stuck with an abandoned lot again. So I would like to know what the solution is. And that's not being combative. I just want to know. I would like to think in terms of solutions if we can.
And I think that's a good approach, but I think the solution is to put one building back on the lot rather than two. It's platted off as two different lots, but it was used for 100 years as a site for a single house, and that's what ought to go back there.
Look, I've got a comment.
Can't make much money with it.
This body approved a project in Cooper Young that was an addition to combine two single-family houses. So that's the yin to the yang of this. I mean, this is a thoughtful, simple structure, right? So if we're objecting to the narrow lot and the skinny house, I mean, somebody bought two houses next door, Craig Blondes, and built an addition between them to combine them. I mean, so I think we have to be flexible, and I think that, I mean, I have a motion in mind to submit that I think improves the design slightly in a couple of nuanced ways. I'm certainly not intending to curtail further discussion, but maybe we need to just put a motion out there and vote on it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Any of the commissioners we have not heard? Excuse me, any of the commissioners we have not heard from? Okay. So then we have a motion that's up. Do you want to
amend
vote?
it? Yes. I'd like to amend the motion, because the motion that's up is just to approve the staff recommendation, or to approve the project with staff recommendation. So since it was my motion, I think I can amend it. So without anyone objecting, I'll submit a new motion or an amended motion to approve MLC case 20-036, subject to the 7 staff conditions with 2 additional conditions. Those being that the outside wall of the carport would be opaque or walled in. And the second would be that the front face of the second floor would be established at the closest boundary to the street that's already in the plan. It would be simply extruded across in a straight line, so that the massing would be simplified, and the window pattern would remain the same, but those 2 windows on the second floor would be coplanar in a coplanar wall.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we ask for more discussion, or is this time for a vote?
I believe it's time for a vote. We have a motion and a second, and we can vote on that and go from there.
Okay. Do a roll call.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Norcross?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Ms. Boyd? Do we have Ms. Boyd on? Ms. Boyd?
I got myself muted. I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Prosser?
No.
Vice Chair Tucker?
No.
4 ayes, 2 noes, motion carries.
Okay. Okay, so this is the second house now. So item 3 is MLC 20037, 983 Bruce Street, Cooper Young Historic District. Is the applicant, I know the applicant's present. He's already signed in, but can he, been sworn in, can he give his name and address? Hello?
Yes, Jeremy Dupree, 10629 Hardin Valley Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37932.
Thank you. My computer's down, so I can't get to my visuals. Okay. Did the applicant read the staff report?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, ma'am. I'm in agreement with all those. Yes, I did. I'm in agreement.
Okay. Does anybody want a presentation? I'm trying to get back on my computer here, so I can't really see anything.
My internet is down too in Midtown, but I've saved the staff reports.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I can help go through the process if that helps, because you probably had that on your computer. And so, but yeah, would any commissioner like to hear the staff presentation on this?
No.
Hearing none.
Is it exactly the same house as was the other one?
It is in form, but there are slight differences to the design to distinguish it. So essentially, it's the same discussion and same parameters of the house we just voted on. And so I think we do have, the applicant can speak if they want to, so we won't have a staff presentation. Does the applicant have anything else that he would like to add?
I'm comfortable making all the adjustments to this one that was voted on the previous one. That would not be a problem. Thank you.
Okay. So we don't have any proponents on the line. We do have the two in opposition. We have Ms. Wall and Mr. Durkin. If Ms. Wall and Mr. Durkin would like to speak again, you each have 3 minutes.
Thank you for hearing from us again. This is Olivia Wall with the Cooper Young Community Association. Our comments are the same on this project as they are for 985 Bruce Street. It's not appropriate. 985 Bruce Street is not appropriate. The neighborhood overwhelmingly does not want these. And a better solution than just approving that two-story monstrosity would be to have a single family shock and sell home with parking in the rear, and you could still have a shared driveway. It's not compatible. It's not appropriate. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wall. Mr. Durkin, would you like to speak?
Yes. Well, I guess I'm just rather shocked at the vote, seeing that this was unanimously rejected last time around. And again, as a homeowner, this development this is why I wanted landmarks protection for Cooper Young. As somebody who lives next to one of these tall and skinny, massive no-lot houses, and this design is by far the furthest thing from a Cooper Young design as it gets. And again, if you want to talk about the carport absolutely, if you read the contextual infill standards of the UDC, does not meet the contextual infill standards because there are no carports or garages on that street whatsoever. And as far as the commissioners who mentioned the house on Bruce and Southern, that is not part of the street block. The street block for this would be from Young Avenue to Walker. And the commissioner who also mentioned the whatever happened on Cooper is in the commercial district that was intentionally left off of the Cooper Young guidelines. That's all I got. I'm kind of floored that this is yeah, I can't believe that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, whenever you want to take back over, you can, but I'm happy to keep going.
It's booting up right now, so you can keep going for a second.
Okay. The applicant, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal if you would like to say anything. Okay.
There's nothing I would like to add.
Sorry? Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions? for anyone? If not, we can have a motion to close the public hearing and discussion.
This is Commissioner Warren. I would like to submit a motion to approve MLC 20-037 under the exact same terms of the previous case, MLC 20-036. Staff, please let me know if that's a problem the way I've worded that.
I think we've got that.
Okay, you need a second.
Second.
Discussion.
I'd like to briefly say that I think this process is working. I heard that this is the absolute antithesis, worst case scenario, apocalyptic, thing, but I don't think that's the case. I think that the Cooper Young becoming a district probably prevents subdivision of lots like this, and I think we're solving a problem that we inherited. I'd like everybody to look at, the building on Jefferson, a block off of Cooper, as an example of incompatible massing. No offense to any architects that might have been involved with that, but this is a sensitive project that I think is a good compromise for us.
I'm not sure that the people in the community look at that way. I think they look at
my comments were directed. I understand. My comments were directed at, I guess, the commissioners, and I don't know what there's to discuss. I think that we just take a vote.
I don't know. I just would like.
I think it's a mistake too.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I would just like. I don't say a lot, so I'd like for us to remember this and not have them other people, when more of these come up in front of us in Cooper Young, that we don't say, they don't come and say, another developer or another builder say, well, you set a precedent on this. So we said this would not be a precedent. We have to remember that.
And I fully agree with that. I would like to make sure we do remember that and make sure this shows up in the minutes, that this is not a precedent, because we will hear again and again, oh, we've done this before, so we have to do it again. The idea that we allow two houses to be joined together at the rear, two houses that are existing contributing houses, and that stand as a rationale for building two tall and skinnies on a 25-foot lot, I don't follow the logic of that at all. And I think that the speaker who lives next to one of these places, who's expressed disbelief as to the outcome here, and the idea that because this lot, the owner of the lot wants to cram two houses onto it when there's always been only one, and the reason you cram two houses in it is to make more money. We are sacrificing the compatibility and the architectural integrity of Cooper Young on the altar of out-of-town developers, people who don't even live here, and people who will be tearing down houses and letting houses go to pot in order for them to be destroyed, in order to take advantage of this historical anomaly with the lot sizes. I think it's a terrible mistake, and I regret to see that we've done it.
Thank you. I agree.
I think everything happens in a time and place of context. I think that out-of-town developers and their money largely developed Cooper Young for profit, right? It happened to be 1910 or 1920 or 1925. And I think the beauty of a commission is that we can, have a subjective conversation about compromise and nuance.
I just don't think we should have ever allowed two to be on there.
But we did it. The Board of Adjustment or the Land Use Control Board allowed that lot to be subdivided.
That doesn't mean that we have to approve it. They approve a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And our job is to look at the rhythm and character of the block and apply that. And we're supposed to be applying the guidelines. So anyway, I don't think we're going to change any minds here. I think it's probably better for us to vote.
Yeah.
And then the staff followed the guidelines, and we're supporting their recommendations with amendments. So that's my rationale.
Okay, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Norcross,
No.
Ms. Doss,
Yes.
Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
Mr. Prosser,
No.
Ms. Tucker.
No.
3 ayes, 3 noes. Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item. So we skipped, item 4, number 5, correct?
That's correct. Here's item number 6.
Okay, item 6 is MLC 20074, 186 South Idlewild Street, Central Gardens Historic District. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Brad McMillan.
Address,
Hello?
please. Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Your address,
It's,
your address, please.
Okay. It's 1234 Dovecrest Road, Memphis, Tennessee 38134.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Have you read the staff report?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in agreement with the staff recommendations?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Brett, my computer just went off again. Can you move forward while I try to get it back?
Okay, yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to shut it off.
Do any of the commissioners want to see a presentation? Okay, hearing none. Does the applicant want to share any presentation or anything with the commission?
No, sir.
Okay, and we have no proponents or opposition on the line, and so there's no need for rebuttal. So we will entertain a motion, or a motion, if anyone wants to make a motion.
I move to approve, I'm sorry.
Is that Ms. Doss?
Yes, I thought
Go
somebody
ahead.
else.
Yeah, I was about to, but go ahead.
Okay. I move to approve item MLC 20-074 with approval and staff for conditions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll have a roll call. Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Mr. Prosser?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Norcross?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, item 7.
Cindy, I'm about to use my hotspot. I got kicked out too. I'm just across now. I got kicked out as well, so I'm on hotspot if that helps anybody. You can use your hotspot from your phone.
Do I need to wait?
No, you can use your hotspot from your phone so you won't get kicked off
Oh,
your internet.
I'm
Just
on the
FYI.
telephone talking. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. Item 7, MLC 20080. 1770 Nelson Avenue, Roselle, Ensell Historic District. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. Could you state your name and address, please?
Octavia Davis, 1770 Nelson.
Okay. Thank you. Do you swear to
Memphis,
tell the
Tennessee,
truth, the whole
38114.
truth? Okay. Thank you. Do you swear to tell? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
Yes.
swear to tell the? Okay. All right. Have you read the staff report?
I sure. Yes.
Okay. Are you in agreement with the staff report?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone want to see the staff presentation?
Yes.
Commissioner? Okay. Could we see the staff presentation, please?
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the Commission. Brian Bacchus with the Office of Planning and Development Landmark Section. This is an MLC request for exterior alterations to a contributing structure. As you can see on your screen, the upper left is the original structure. To your right, to your lower right, this structure has been altered along the front facade. Next slide, please. This request is for exterior alterations to the second floor facade. It also replaces the exterior siding, the front door, and the windows. It's a retroactive COA. This applicant received a minor COA for a rear addition and then proceeded with the front facade. So they're back before us now to modify the front facade to meet the district guidelines. We're recommending approval with 4 conditions. That concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions of the applicant or staff?
Or this is Neil Prosser. I remember this coming up last month, and there was going to be some effort to make the front more compatible with how it was in the past, but not duplicated. What happened with that?
That's correct. The applicant has since, thank you, Commissioner Prosser. I neglected to remind the commission regarding the hold from last month. And the applicant, we had an opportunity to speak with the applicant to modify her front facade to duplicate or replicate the original structure. As you can see on the screen here to the right, that's what we're recommending, and the conditions read that way. Next slide, Mr. Whitehead, please. Thank you. The gable will be extended out and also provide the octagonal windows in the gable end, and also the smaller windows to the left and right of the structure. As you can see, the cornice will be extended around the side in the gable to extend around both sides of the structure to modify the shed roof dormer that's been that's also been expanded on the upper floor. That's what we're recommending, and the conditions read that way.
That sounds like a big success. I compliment staff and the applicant.
Thank you, sir.
Do any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Commissioner Warren here. I want to make sure I understand the staff recommendation number 3. 3, the window shall be 6/1 to match the windows at the front of the home and the left and right side elevations.
Yeah, the front facade, the windows on the front facade as they exist today, they are not 6/1. The windows at the right and left side facade near the front of the home, they are 6/1. So we're recommending those windows be changed out to provide 6/1 light.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. If you look at in your staff report, you can see that very clearly. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a change to the shape or configuration of the window
That's correct.
opening through the wall.
No change in the shape or configuration. That's correct. Only the light.
Okay.
The muttons, rather.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in support? Or opposition of this project?
No, ma'am, we don't have any support or opposition.
Okay, then for a motion.
Madam Chair.
I move to approve. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Boyd. I move that we approve MLC 20-080 1770 Nelson Avenue, along with the staff 4 conditions, approval with 4 conditions.
There's a second?
I second.
Second.
Third and fourth.
No discussion?
Move for a vote.
Okay, call for a vote.
Mr. Prosser?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Norcross?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yeah.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we have new applications, because we're not doing item 8, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Item 9, MLC 20090 and okay. 1061 Tanglewood Street, Super Young Historic District. It's work. I'm sorry. Is the applicant present? Hello? Is the applicant present?
We did have them on earlier, but it seems like they may not be on right now. So let's go to the next case, and we can see if we can get them back on. So case number 10.
Okay, item 10, MLC 20091, 223 Buena Vista Place, Evergreen Historic District. Are the applicants present? Hello? Are they gone too?
We are checking. Okay, we do not have the applicant on that either. Okay. We've got 11. We do have the applicant on 11, so item number 11.
Okay, MLC 20092, 1525 Netherwood Avenue, Glenview Historic District. Is the applicant present?
Present.
Okay, would you state your name and address, please?
Nikisha McFarland, 303 Fern Valley Cove North,
Cordova, Tennessee, 38018.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Have you read the staff report?
I have, and I'm in agreement with the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Would the commissioners like to see a presentation?
Yes.
You said yes? Did someone
Yes.
say yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, can we see the presentation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Teza with the Office of Planning and Development. Item before you is a COA request for exterior alterations to replace the front door and windows of the subject property. Next slide, please. Street view shows the existing condition of the front door and windows at 1525 Netherwood Avenue. The house has craftsman-style multi-light windows and front door with half-length side lights and transom. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to replace the door and windows with new, similar to the ones depicted on these pictures. Next slide, please. To the left of the subject property, there is an existing home with the same type of windows and door, and this is 1531 Netherwood Avenue. And the details of the windows and door is more visible on this visual. Next slide, please.
I'm not seeing any slides change.
I'm not either.
Commissioners, if you could please refresh your YouTube web pages.
I did.
How do you do that?
In the upper left. Okay.
Okay.
I just had to come all the way out and come back in. Refreshing didn't work on mine. This is a city thing. This doesn't work very well over here at any point.
Isn't there a button at the bottom by the little bar that says live? If you click live, does it jump forward or refresh?
Well, so does the thing at the upper left too.
I can give you staff report page numbers if that would work with my presentation.
All right. Well, I have it copied. Well, go on and go
Brett,
forward. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Brett, I have to step out for a second and call security here.
Okay. And, well, we have a quorum. We can continue to move forward. So is everyone working on refreshing can we just continue with the staff report if everyone has that?
Yes.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay. There's a visual on page 5 of your staff reports. This is the property to the left of the subject property. It is an existing home with the same type of windows and door. We use this visual because the existing conditions are more visible here. The Glenview design guidelines state that the least level of intervention is preferred for alterations to existing properties. And because windows and doors are significant to the characteristics of the structure, their size and shape should be preserved, such as surrounding casings and sash components. The proposed replacement windows do not match the originals in terms of material and grid pattern, and you can see those examples on pages 12 and 13 of your staff reports, and I believe 13 and 14. Yes. The staff recommends approval of this COA with 4 conditions. One, windows on the front facade and the front section of side elevations shall match the original grid pattern as seen on 1531 Netherwood visual, and all windows shall be of appropriate material. New windows on the rear facade and rear sections of the side elevations can have simpler grid patterns with appropriate materials. Staff condition number 2, the existing transom and side lights of the front door shall be retained as original. Condition number 3, replacement door shall match the original in terms of style with lights. And 4, any change shall be subject to review of the commission. This concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, do the commissioners have any questions?
Are there any drawings?
There are no drawings.
Does the applicant support these changes, the staff recommendations?
Yes.
Is there any other questions? Okay, is
Can
there
I make a
anybody?
motion?
Well, is there anybody in support? Or,
No, ma'am.
okay, yeah, go ahead, make a motion.
All right. This is Neil Prosser. I'll make a motion to approve MLC 20-092 with the staff recommendations, subject to the staff recommendations.
Second.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
We got a brief point of discussion that it's very difficult to evaluate. I'm in support of the motion and we'll vote in the affirmative because I trust staff. But, even the last project had some PDF kind of surface sketches that were very, very helpful. And so, we have an application form that outlines the requirements for an application. And I don't like seeing applications without drawings. It's very difficult to follow some of this discussion about what was being proposed and what's actually now being approved. But as long as staff has a handle on it, I trust them.
I agree with you, Commissioner Warren. I think we ought to have that level of detail in order for us to do our jobs. And we rely on staff, but ultimately we have to it's our names that are associated with what's approved. And so I hope that going forward, particularly with COVID stuff and the difficulty of handing things out, it makes everything more clunky. But and for a smaller project like this, it may be less important, but it is hard to tell fortunately I had a copy of this, but without that I would have had no idea what we're talking about.
Call for vote.
Any other discussion? All right.
No.
Mr. Warren? Mr. Warren?
Yes, I'm voting yes.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Mr. Prosser?
Yes.
Mr. Norcross?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we going on to 12?
Yes, let's move to 12, and then we'll see if we have the applicants from the other two that we've passed.
Okay, MLC 20095, 399 North McLean Street, Evergreen Historic District. Is the applicant here?
I think that's McNeil.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's McNeil.
Yep.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you state your name and address, please?
Randy Whalen at 399 North McNeil Street.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Have you seen the staff report?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in agreement with the staff report recommendations?
Well, there were two recommendations that you guys provided. I am in agreement to the recommendation for the changing to the 1/1 windows. However, would like to see if the committee was open to discussion for a possible staining a different color for the cedar siding.
Okay. Does that commission want to see a presentation?
I would.
Okay.
I would as well.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please, staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item before you is a COA request for exterior alterations to replace the front security door of the porch and windows with smaller windows and infill with siding. Next slide, please. This sheet view shows the original condition of the structure with taller windows and security door with full-length side lights. Next slide, please. The existing condition of the structure shows that the windows were replaced by shorter 6/6 windows, and there is lap siding infill below the new windows. And the side lights of the security door are now half length. Next slide, please. Based on the discussions we had during the design review meeting and initial staff conditions that were shared with the applicant provided two options that they would like to consider. Option 1 at the top has 1/1 windows and stained cedar lap siding infill below the windows, and the trim of the security door is painted to match the existing trim of the windows. Option 2 at the below has the cedar lap siding painted to match the existing trim of the windows in white with 1/1 windows and the same configuration for the security door. Next slide, please. Based on the staff review, we believe that the proposed alterations are appropriate. Architectural survey records indicate that the front porch was originally enclosed with windows and security door at this property. And we recommend approval of this COA request with two conditions to: one, exterior alterations shall match the option 2 received on August 20th with 1/1 windows and painted cedar lap siding infill. And 2, any change or deviation from the approval shall be subject to review by the commission. This concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant or for staff?
Is there
This is
an
Neil Frost.
opinion from the historic district, from the neighborhood association? There it is. I see it on
Yes,
page,
Commissioner.
page 29.
Yes, and I was going to say that Mr. Williams was going to speak, but he has indicated that he does not need to speak, that the letter does serve as their support.
Okay.
And what's the gist? I do not have the letter in front of me. Can somebody give me the gist of that?
The letter is just that they support the project or the alterations.
Okay.
It says this is their wording. The work outlined in this application is renovation of existing screened porch on the front of the home. Evergreen has no objections to this application. I have some serious concerns, but I don't think it's the time to discuss them without a motion. So we'll go through the steps.
Is there any other questions of staff from commission?
I guess I have one question. Was this a screen porch before it was enclosed to make it living space, or was it already living space?
I believe it was kind of a living space, sort of like a sunroom. It wasn't heated, but it was enclosed with windows instead of regular mesh screens.
Okay. Do we know when that happened?
The architectural survey was conducted in 2007, and that one indicated that this porch was already enclosed with windows and security door back then.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So it should be over 13 years.
Okay, any other commissioners?
So do we know, this work was performed in 2020. Do we know at the beginning of this year, before the work was done, whether the enclosure was screen or glass?
It was glass.
Mm-hmm. So it was transparent glass. I see in some of the photos.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there anyone, you've got the support, is there any opposition?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do you want to call for a motion?
For the purposes of discussion, I move that we reject this proposal, MLC 20-095.
Actually, motions should be made in the affirmative.
In the affirmative, yeah.
Okay. For the purposes of discussion, I move that we approve case MLC 20-095.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, can we have discussion?
Yeah, I guess I'll lead the discussion or lead off the discussion because it was my motion. So the pictures show a very transparent condition of that porch, right? The glass, the dark black or dark brown mullions, and they're very minimalist. They're very evocative of a screen porch. So I think at one point, this thing probably evolved from being an open air porch to a screened porch to having some storm windows installed in the mullions that probably supported a screen porch. And now it is clearly an addition that is totally out of character and the exact type of thing that is prohibited. And I'm going to read to you from page, I don't know the page number. They're not numbered. But I'm going to read to you one short passage from the Evergreen Historic District. It's entitled Enclosure of Covered Areas. The enclosure of carports, porches, porte cocheres, and other covered areas on principal facades to create additional habitable square footage is usually not appropriate and should be avoided. Notwithstanding, if such enclosure is permitted, it should be accomplished in a manner that preserves the original character of the original principal facade. So I would say that what they had before preserved the original character of that facade via its transparency. If you look at the photographs, you can see furniture through there. Now it just has horizontal siding, which doesn't even exist anywhere else on the house. It has unit windows plopped in, and it's really unfortunate the work is done. But if this came to us when the work had not been done, I feel we would reject it, and we should reject it. So it's very problematic in that it's cut and dry right there about the enclosure of front porches.
This is Neil Prosser. I fully agree with all of that. The windows 6/6 windows have no match in the main body of the house. The cedar siding just jumps out at you. Even if it was painted, it would jump out at you as an enclosure of the porch. It's not an appropriate modification.
Any other questions or discussion?
I guess I'll add that there's some work on the right side of the house that was that already enclosed? No, I guess not. I mean, when I compare page 19 of the staff report that's labeled before, in the bottom left, there's a word written in white letters on the green grass. It says before. You know, it's an understated and handsome facade. It looks like screen porch even, you know, and it's unfortunately, they probably weren't aware of the guideline, but it's pretty blatant in its violation, I think.
Any others? Okay, so no more discussion?
Well, I would encourage, I mean, I want to find the best path forward. So if this doesn't, for some reason, if the vote rejects the staff recommendation, I would encourage the applicant to work with staff and try to improve on this, restore some of the spirit of the original facade as is kind of the gist of the guideline. It's my last statement.
Okay. So are we staying with the motion that has been made? Are you?
Yeah, I don't have any plans to amend the motion. I'll plan to vote against it with a no. Just to be clear, you know, how the logic is, the motion's in the affirmative, and I've taken a stance against it to vote no.
Okay. Can we have a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Warren?
No.
Ms. Doss?
No.
Mr. Prosser?
No.
Ms. Boyd?
No.
Mr. Norcross?
No.
Chair Tucker?
No.
Motion fails. Yes, motion fails. That's correct. Okay, so let me see if we have one of the other applicants on. Okay, we have someone on the line that we just unmuted. What's the number? 9363. Can you identify who that is?
My name is Alexis Williams for 1061 Tanglewood Street.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Nine.
So this is item 9,
Item
correct.
9.
Yes.
Okay. MLC 20901061 Tanglewood Street, Cooper Young Historic District. Is the applicant is present. Could you state your name and address, please?
Alexis Williams, 1061 Tanglewood Street.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you seen the
Madam
staff
Chair,
report?
I apologize, Madam Chair. I did want to amend something here before we ask the applicant about the staff report. We have been in conversation with the applicant and their contractor about the proposed garage structure, which was intended to be a prefabricated metal building, and our condition was that it be clad in either wood or brick, and that has not been confirmed to be possible, so they have agreed to withdraw the garage portion of the application at this point so that we can continue working on that. So the only two items that we are reviewing today are the new fence and gate, and then the replacement of a front window on the front facade of the house, and which the Cooper Young design guidelines actually do not require review of replacement of windows and doors, but we did have that in there. We're working with them on the appropriateness of it.
Okay. Okay, so is it appropriate to ask if she agrees with staff recommendations?
Yes, with that amended the amended conditions that the any reference to the new garage is not part of the review.
Okay, and do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, all righty. So you are in agreement with all that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Does the commissioners want to see a presentation?
This is Neil Prosser. I have one question. Where is the fence?
We have, I believe, is Mr. Thomas on the line? Mr. Thomas, can you indicate?
Can y'all hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes, the proposed fence would be 8 feet on the southern, western, and northern portions of it. It was existing chainmail, and they're replacing parts of it with wood. Let me pull up the picture real quick. It's outlined on one of the PowerPoint slides in blue on the site plan. However, they did not give a specific dimension besides the 8 feet, what part of the fencing they were replacing that was 8 feet.
And the location.
Will the red come down in the front, or is that going to remain?
The red is just showing the outline of the property. The blue is what is going to be the fence.
Okay. I thought I saw a picture that had the chain link in front of the house.
No, sir. Or if it was, it's coming down.
Okay. My only other question was the staff condition said the fence could be 9 feet tall, and 9 foot tall fence going across the lot line would be too tall, I would think, isn't it? I thought you only were allowed 8 feet anyway.
Yes, I was referring to what the UDC said. It's just a condition that it would not exceed 9 feet.
Okay, well, shouldn't we amend that to something more appropriate since we don't want it to be 9 feet?
Mm-hmm. We can amend that.
Okay, are there, so I'm assuming we do not want to see presentation. Does any of the commissioners have any other questions for staff? Okay. Is there anyone in support or opposition of this project?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I apologize. We do have Olivia Wall in opposition. I believe she was in opposition to, I apologize, Ms. Wall, but maybe the garage. But is she still on? Okay, Ms. Wall?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hi, yes, we were opposed to the garage as proposed, just as a staff report. We agree with that, just the material and the overall design. But if the garage is no longer being built, then we have no opposition. We support the demolition of the existing non-contributing garage. We support the fence. Everything adheres to the guidelines in those respects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So do you want to have a motion?
This is Neil Prosser. I move that we approve item MLC 20-090 with staff recommendations with the garage not being included in the approval to be left to another day with an appropriate design from the applicant, and that the fence should not exceed 8 feet in height rather than 9, and that be along the side lot lines, the across the lot lines. It shouldn't be more than 6 feet tall.
There's second, is there a second?
Second.
I'll say second.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Yes, Commissioner Warren, I just briefly would like Commissioner Prosser to clarify. I'm in agreement the fence should not be 9 feet tall, but we've made a reference to a 6-foot fence and an 8-foot fence, but I'm a little foggy on that, and I'm wondering if maybe we can use north, south, east, west, or some other descriptive term to hone in on that.
If my understanding is correct, the west lot line is the back of the lot. That could have a 8-foot fence. My big concern is you shouldn't have an 8-foot fence at the where it separates the front yard from the backyard. That's an awfully tall fence.
I agree.
So I would say the north south portions of the fence should be 6 feet tall, and then it can step up to 8 feet as it goes down the lot line, and it can be 8 feet at the rear. But if we have to be more exact than that, staff, maybe you can help me with the wording, or else we just leave it at 6 all the way along the side lot lines and just have a high fence at the back.
Well, and I did want to clarify, just for a point of reference, that the Cooper Young design guidelines do not have any limitation on fence height, just as a point of reference.
Okay. I appreciate that point, Brett. That's what I've been looking for, and I think that they missed the mark there. And by reference, I mean, I'm not suggesting we need to apply this at all, but Central Gardens actually has a 6-foot height limit on the fence facing the street, and 8 feet is allowed on the sides. I'm not saying we need to do that. It's not written in the guideline, but I'm just putting it out there for the commissioners to consider.
Okay, any further discussion?
So the motion as it stands would prescribe a 6-foot fence facing the street and allow 8-foot fencing on the other side and rear property lines. Is that correct, Neil?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, do we need to restate the motion, or are we okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. You want to call for a vote?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Prosser?
Yes.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Mr. Norcross?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, do we have Buena Vista?
We are going to unmute everyone, and if there is a representative for that case, they can speak up. We're not sure at this point.
The presenter has allowed participants to unmute themselves.
Is there anyone on the line for the item number 10, Buena Vista?
Can somebody go check the council chambers, see if he's down there?
We're in the council chambers.
Probably gone down.
Yeah. So, Madam Chair, I do believe we have no new business, so I believe we've come to the end of our agenda.
Okay, can I have a motion to dismiss?
Madam Chair, I move that we dismiss.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. All righty.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I think so.
Thank you.